Hey everybody, welcome back to Stoppage Time, presented by Aaron's. I'm Jimmy Vance with Mike Conti and Jason Longshore right here. We've got a big show for everybody. We're going to get to your fan questions, so keep on sending those in right now. We're going to get to those in the middle and the later part of the shows. That's brought to you by Country Financial. Great partnership with them and Aaron's. Appreciate a good kickoff to the season here with some new sponsorships for us and get everybody going with Stoppage Time. We've got a good show. We're going to talk about the Monterey. We're going to talk DC United a little bit, preview FC Cincinnati, and also we're going to talk to Layne United 2's manager, Stephen Glass, coming up. Big show coming up, so everybody send in your questions right now. And guys, before we kick off, thanks again to our sponsor of Stoppage Time, Aaron's, where you'll find the perfect choice for your budget and style with top name brands in furniture, electronics, and appliances. Get started at aarons.com or visit one of 47 stores across the Atlanta area. Guys, let's get into the Monterey DC United. I think big picture for everybody.
Okay.
Disappointing results, we can all say. You know, at DC and Monterey, you guys were both there. Lost 2-0 to DC United and 3-0 to Monterey. Not a lot of shots on target. The offense is kind of struggling right now. Guys, what have the kind of the big picture for you guys from these past two results?
Well, look, against Monterey, you're not going to get many chances. That's just flat out. You're not going to get a whole lot of chances against Monterey. They have 5 straight clean sheets. So there's 2 different situations here at play. Against DC, you needed to create more, and you had the possession to do so. You didn't. And I believe it's 2 shots on goal, 5 key passes in that game. That's just not enough with the possession that you had. Against Monterey, it was even less, but you kind of expected that. And against Monterey, honestly, I feel okay with where things were in that match up until about the 75th, 80th minute, because you knew you were going to have to fight and defend and see what you can get out of that. Against DC, it's a different issue, and that's what's so hard, I think, when we talk about where Atlanta United is right now. Each match has had some different challenges, and each match has to be looked at separately as well as the overall whole of the season.
Yeah, and I think it's also easy to overlook all the things that have really kind of gone against Atlanta United since last Thursday when they beat Herediano up at Kennesaw, which is also something we can talk about. Mm-hmm. I feel like we have to at least remember they did beat a team 4-0 a week ago. Sure. But now think about it. I mean, you played 3 games in 6 days, 2 of them on the road. Each of those road games posing a very specific set of challenges from the standpoint of conditions and atmosphere. You had a plan where you were going to buy Julian Gressel some rest, have him fresh, have Pity Martinez fresh for Monterey on Wednesday, and what happens? You give up 2 quick goals. You have to put them in now for 30 minutes in D.C., which wouldn't be a big deal except for the fact that Julian Gressel then got hurt in a light training the next day. You know, so you're throwing that plan out. You still don't have Franco Escobar, so you're down 2 right wing backs at Monterey, one of the best teams in this hemisphere. I'm not saying that what happened this past week should be downplayed. I think there are some significant questions, and it's okay to ask those questions. Mm-hmm. But I think you also need to remember the big picture here. These are some really, really tough fixtures on your schedule where now you're shorthanded, and you're adapting under a new manager, and you're trying to forge some kind of chemistry right now with a new number 10. Not necessarily your number 10 on the pitch, but someone wearing number 10. This is tough. This is a really, really tough spot for Atlanta United to be in. And I think it would be more fair to evaluate where this club is at the end of next week after you've played Cincinnati and Philadelphia than where they are right now. I think CONCACAF is a lost cause. We talked about it on Stoppage Time today. I think you're conceding CONCACAF right now. You can't come back from 3-0 down.
I think you can't put it out there like that, though, when you put the team sheet out.
No.
Because I think there is a bit of an expectation, and there's things you can benefit from that even if you don't advance.
Yeah.
I think a good performance goes a long way, even if it's a lot of new faces in it. Mm-hmm. I think a good performance there goes a long way for what that match can give you on Wednesday.
I agree, absolutely. And I'm not saying you're going to send out an entire second-choice lineup, but I think you have to look at it realistically.
Sure.
If you go out and you win your 2 MLS matches decisively and score a lot of goals, and the connections are there, and the interplay looks better, and you're defending well. I think they've been defending pretty well to begin with.
Yes, I agree.
But now, if everything in the attack starts to come together, and you get a big score line against Cincinnati, and a big score line against Philadelphia, and maybe the Monterey return leg is like 1-1, or it's a result that is not negative, I think then we're having a totally different discussion about where we are right now. It just so happens that you open the MLS season against a team that is absolutely top 3 in the East in a hurricane, a cold hurricane in D.C., where Brad gets fooled by a bad bounce. You have a soft penalty in Monterey. Otherwise, you're playing them totally even. The best team, one of the best teams in the hemisphere, totally even for 75 minutes. Mm-hmm. You don't like the last 10 minutes in Monterey. The first 10 minutes at Herediano and the last 10 minutes at Monterey were shockingly bad. Other than that, they've been pretty good. And I think you need more of a sample size to evaluate this team.
I think there's a little bit more to it. The start against Herediano was bad, and it's your start. It is your start. It's the start of your season, so it's a little understandable. The response, okay, better. We talked about it. Both games, the team got better as the half went on against Herediano. Then you get to DC and you give up a goal off a set piece at the very end of the first half, and you give up a goal kind of early in the second half. And then you bring on Gressel and Pity Martinez. I'm not so sure that wasn't planned. I think you wanted to get them some minutes, but maybe not 30, maybe a few minutes less. You turn to them. You don't get the result you want. You go to Monterey. You give up the penalty. I wouldn't say the final 10 minutes was shockingly bad. I think the issue is you got tired. And that's a different issue than the first start against Herediano. You had individual mistakes against Herediano that hurt you that have nothing to do with being tired. I think the explanation in Monterey is a little different. You have all these games. You don't have as much depth, especially on the right side. It's tricky. And now you have some pressure that has built up now. And you're coming home to face Cincinnati, who comes in here with nothing to lose. It's going to be a difficult match in that regard because you don't really know anything about them. We've only seen them once in MLS play, a couple times in the Carolina Challenge Cup. That's it. So it's going to be a challenge to deal with that pressure. And you have a fan base right now that is edgy. I mean, I don't know what word we want to use. I mean, I think it's been a...
Restless.
Yeah.
Restless.
I'd say even beyond that. And that's okay. I think that's a good thing. I think the fact that the fan base is disengaged is outstanding. Because I don't know if the questions are being asked the same way in Houston,
no.
Red Bulls fan base,
no.
Kansas City fan base with their loss in Panama. I don't think those questions are coming out the same way.
Expectations. I mean, since winning MLS Cup, even with a new manager, even with a new system, expectations from the fan base, it's just going to be sky high.
Right.
Going into a different competition that we all want to achieve to be amongst the elite and be like, and going into a final like that. Maybe expectations were raised a little high, without the factors of breaking in a new system, new players. Mickey. I mean, we've had the core here, but I mean, Miguel Almiron going to Newcastle. That's a major piece that Pitti coming here is, former South American Player of the Year last year, but it takes time to get that chemistry with the players.
Look, he's not 100% fit. He said so. He didn't get the same type of training. It's a different type of preseason. He mentioned it today during media availability. He's used to a heavy cardio type of preseason. He needs that build-up in him, and he doesn't feel like he's there yet. It's very common when players go to different clubs. Different clubs have different ways of training. He's adapting. But you also have to look at the level of the opposition that you faced in these 3 games. DC United is going to be there in the Eastern Conference. DC United is going to be there at the end of the season in the East. Monterey is going to be there in Mexico at the end. They're probably going to be there at the end of the CONCACAF Champions League. Herediano won the Costa Rican League last year, struggling a little bit at the moment, but they're a quality side as well. It's a pretty tough start. It's a very tough start. So those expectations, I agree, they're very high. I think at times they weren't very realistic because of the draw you got in CONCACAF.
Yeah, I mean, going against Monterey.
It's as hard of a draw as you get.
Yeah. I wanted to get to you before we go to Whiteboard with the new Whiteboard Chronicles here. Talk about some criticism, talking about maybe the substitutions. I've heard you guys on the radio talking about, I mean, almost going to the 90th minute, and it looked like we were out of gas near the 75th minute. What did you think about the squad rotation for like going from the DC United into Monterey? Did you want to see Tito, sooner? Because I know I heard you on Dukes and Bell talking about maybe I would have gone with him at halftime or.
Well, there's a couple different things that play into it. First, I'm not in training. I don't know how these guys are looking in training. I think the thought here is you want to get as many minutes with this group together as possible because you want to build those connections. You want to build that continuity with this group, those little societies that we're always talking about. You want to build that up. So you have to play together to do that. Now, the balance is how much can you play together without running out of gas? And that's a hard line to draw, especially early in a season where you are still building fitness. Against DC, I think the idea was, as I said, to give Pitti and Gressel a little bit less time, but still to play them. And you saw when Pitti came on, everything went through him. The idea was for him to change things. And he put in an effort and wasn't successful in doing that. Against Monterey, I thought at halftime you might need some fresh legs because the game was kind of turning a little bit. Early in the second half, I still thought that. The team bounced back in the middle of the second half. And I thought from about 60 to 75 minute mark, I wouldn't change a thing because they were playing well. They had Monterey on their heels. You get one goal and you're 1-1. I wouldn't have changed a thing at that point. We talked about it in the broadcast. Everything turned in the middle of the second half. But it was after Monterey brought in Pizarro and got fresh legs in the middle, and Atlanta was kind of on their heels. Okay, that was very sudden. You give up the second goal. That's where I thought, even if it's as much to give the team a break to recover mentally, that a sub could have been useful. The subs came at the beginning of stoppage time. But it's tough when you're still getting to know the squad. It's tough when you're getting to know individual fitness levels. And it's tough when you're getting to know how much they can handle and when they need a break.
There's probably going to be a little bit more context added to the substitution pattern when we see the team sheet on Sunday, don't you think? I mean, if Jeff Lorenowitz is on the team sheet as a starting center back, okay, well, now we understand why Frank was reluctant to put him in until the 90th minute. Obviously, if Tito is starting Sunday, which I think we can all agree he probably will. All right, well, it makes a little more sense now why he held him out on Wednesday. So I think we need to give Frank a little bit of the benefit of the doubt on that. It did really feel like that game was screaming for substitutions, especially after Pizarro came on and they got the second goal. But what were your options, really? Tito seemed to be a clear one. Other than that, if you want to make a change at center back, you're putting Jeff Lorenowitz in probably.
That's the one.
But beyond that, Pogba's not in the team yet. If you want to make a change on the right wing, Julian Gressel can't come off that bench. I mean, it's going to be Mikey Ambrose, or you take someone out and you move someone to a different
Gordon
spot.
Wild would have been an option. But
he was in the club.
But that's the thing is I think right wing's been something everybody's zeroed in on. Mikey Ambrose was fine.
Yeah.
There was no need to change him. I think it was in the middle there where Pizarro came on and changed things for Monterey. That was where the legs got heavy. You saw Breck Shea struggling to keep up on the left. You saw Rometty struggling to keep up. In dead sprints, they're getting beat. And that was a bit of the challenge. And you don't have a ton of options there right now.
But I think the other point, too, is they're bringing Cesar Pizarro off the bench.
Yeah.
And Atlanta United has Julian Gressel out and Franco Escobar out and P.T. Martinez getting close but still not fully there for 90 minutes yet. I mean, this is why you have to look at what happened in Monterey, I think, a little bit realistically. I mean, they're bringing world-class guys off your bench. Atlanta United played a match Sunday in the pouring rain, traveled literally all day Monday. Trust me, I was there. I mean, it was a 5-hour flight. It was an hour to the airport each way. Okay, so Monday was a negative day because you lost Julian Gressel to an injury on Monday, and the rest of the day you're in an airplane. Not a very comfortable one, by the way. I shouldn't have said that. Anyhow, it's tough. It's really, really tough. That's why I'm not so much hung up on what happened in Monterey as a whole, even looking at the last 10 minutes. I'm a little more stuck on what happened at D.C. But again, I think there's a pretty reasonable explanation for why things happened the way they did there. If you come out on Sunday and you have problems, then I'm going to start to get a little more concerned. because the way that Cincinnati defended against Seattle didn't look very good. They're making changes to their club right now. They made a signing on Wednesday. They waived a guy. They're going into an atmosphere of 70,000 people. Atlanta United has all the advantages now. They've got to benefit from that, or I'm going to be concerned.
One more thing before we get to the whiteboard. What you guys think of, Monterey's tactics of fouling Pity Martinez anytime and not get carded for it?
Well, they're very intelligent tactics when you're not getting persistent infringement yellow cards. I would do it too.
Yeah.
And I would do it until the referee starts throwing yellow cards for persistent infringement. Your two creative attacking players in Pity Martinez and Ezequiel Barco were fouled 14 times. Just the two of them.
No.
Eric Remedi also carrying the ball through midfield a lot, fouled another 4 times. 18 of 26 fouls were to those 3 players. Killed every chance Atlanta had to try to build anything up, and it's frustrating because we're used to seeing referees in CONCACAF be interesting. This was beyond that because Pity Martinez fouled 10 times, all right? No player in the last 5 years in Major League Soccer matches has been fouled that many times.
Right.
I mean, this is very uncommon. This is not
2013, I think, was the last time that someone suffered 10 fouls in a match.
Yeah, because usually a ref's throwing a yellow and saying, hey, stop.
And Carlos Rodriguez committed 10 fouls.
Which is unbelievable.
And didn't get not a single card.
Unbelievable.
Like, what's persistent infringement? 10 fouls and no card? That's not persistent infringement?
I don't know.
Now, Monterey could come back and say, well, now, wait a minute. We did have a couple bookings. Our manager was sternly lectured. The manager actually got a yellow, which I've never seen before.
Would have rather seen Rodriguez get a yellow because it would have changed things.
Yeah, absolutely.
You would have had to play the game differently.
Totally. So, that's another thing. That's another ingredient that goes into all of this. And I'll go back to Sunday. Jair Marufo's not a good ref for Atlanta United right now. He's a great ref, but for the way Atlanta United wants to play, Marufo does not like calling fouls. And that's fine. He's consistent. He's a very, very good ref. He's a World Cup referee. But that's not good news for Atlanta United when you see a referee come in that is going to be reluctant to call fouls. Because Atlanta United has attacking players right now, and Pity Martinez and Ezequiel Barco, that are going to get kicked. It's just the way that teams are going to deal with them right now
because
until a line is drawn.
That's the problem, is teams are afraid of Pity Martinez. They're afraid of Ezequiel Barco on the dribble, so they're going to foul them. It's a smart tactic if you can get away with it. And right now, DC to a much lesser degree, but Monterey, that was the tactic, and it worked. It was smart tactics from Diego Alonso.
And if you're just joining us, this is Stoppage Time. I'm Jimmy Vance. I'm with Mike Conti and Jason Longshore. And Stoppage Time is presented by Aaron's, where you'll find the perfect choice for your budget and style for top name brands in furniture, electronics, and appliances. Get started at aarons.com or visit one of 47 stores in the Atlanta area. Did you want to do whiteboard?
Yeah, let's keep it simple and talk about something from DC. And it showed out a little bit in the Monterey game as well. So against a 4-2-3-1 in red, that would be DC, and Monterey played the same. Atlanta in the 3-4-3, generally, you have Pity Martinez, Ezequiel Barco in central, and you have your wing backs trying to get forward and create spaces. When Pity Martinez came on, when he came in late in the game, it changed. And this was the first time we had seen this all season, where instead of playing centrally, Pity was out here. That gave Brek Shea opportunities to run through, and we talked about it during the broadcast. That unbalanced DC a good bit. They didn't really know how to handle that change. Pity had a lot of the ball late in that match. He had a lot of chances, a lot of crosses, which we hadn't seen early from him. Mixed results, as he's still kind of getting things underway for him. But what this does, just to show you a little bit of the shape. So when Atlanta's in possession, Atlanta's in black, when they're in possession and they want to play in the opposite half, look at how compressed it can get. When teams want to sit back and defend against them, this is how compressed things can get. Joseph doesn't have a lot of space to operate. These guys don't have a lot of space to operate, whether it's Tito, Barco, Pity Martinez, Nagby's played in this role too. It's very tough to operate. The way you do it is quick circulation of the ball, quick movement. And you want to get your wing backs involved. You want to get them isolated 1v1. You want to create these opportunities 1v1 for Brek Shea, George Bello, Julian Gressel, Franco Escobar, to beat players 1v1, put in service. Because then you get the team back on their heels. Then these guys can crash. Then you create situations where it's chaos here. That's where Remedi Nagbe can slide in. It's difficult right now because you're not getting the penetration out wide. That's the biggest problem right now, as the team is still finding its footing. That's why when you're building possession, and we've talked about this as the possession idea has come up, when you're building the possession, you have to get the team like this. See how compressed it is? Because when it turns over, because it will, every team, you have turnovers, it's going to happen, no team's perfect. When it turns over, you want to be able to regain possession quickly. You want to be able to regain that possession very quickly, and that's something Atlanta struggled with in transition so far. Right now, possession's been pretty good. Mm-hmm. Even Monterey, you had a slight possession advantage. Mm-hmm. However, the transition, when it turns over to defense, that's where you're getting stretched out. That's where there's gaps, and teams are hitting these gaps. Runners here, and they're creating opportunities. That's where Atlanta struggled at times. That's something that gets cleaned up over time. A lot of this that we're seeing right now is a slightly new system, and it's taken some time to just fully integrate. That's to be expected. It's been tough opposition to do so in. Now, you're going to get an opponent in Cincinnati and an opponent in Philadelphia that you should be able to take a little more advantage of and come out of it feeling a little bit better about the system.
Let's see, and we have Layne 92's manager Stephen Glass here. We're going to get to him in about 5 minutes, but let's get some let's get some Twitter questions going on and a fan Q&A, and that's brought to you by Country Financial. Prepare for your financial future one simple step at a time. Take simple steps at simplesteps.com is the website. And guys, I've got a couple of Twitter questions here. Just want to get your feedback. Artlessly formerly known as TLC, he asked, in the 3-4-3, one of the wingers is supposed to fall into the number 10 spot centrally, periodically. Why is that preferable to just playing 3-5-2? We struggle in the middle of the pitch. It's killing Nagbe and Remedi. What benefit does this approach bring, given Barco's weaknesses wide?
One of the wingers, because they're not a winger in this, one of the inside forwards is not supposed to play the number 10. Both of them are. It's two number 10s. Mm-hmm. And a lot of comparisons been made to Frank de Boer's system at Ajax, where he played a 4-3-3 as opposed to a 3-4-3 for a large stretch of his run. He played it with two 10s. It's not any different. It was a triangle with a 6 and two 10s. So to have that means you're going to control more possession. You're getting another ball handler in central. You don't want one to be there and the other not to be. You want them both there. You want them both there to keep the ball and then create the opportunities and create 1v1 opportunities, because that's the whole goal of this. A lot of times, as I was talking about, those 1v1s are going to show up out wide. Mm-hmm. However, in this system and with these players, Pity Martinez is a great 1v1 player. You want him to take his chances when he gets it. Barco is great on the dribble. You want him to take his chances when he gets it. And he's always looking to pass and combine. When you have two ball handlers, for lack of a better term, like Barco and like Pity, you have to get them on the same page, and they have to learn how to play off of one another, because there's one ball to go around. So the game against Herediano, go back and watch that for a way that Atlanta United can look in large stretches. It wasn't as clearly defined as I think Tafka's going for here in his tweet. It's not 110 and the other something else. But Barco played off of Pity Martinez more. He dropped a little bit deeper. He would drop in and help in possession a little bit more. Pity played a little bit higher. It was a little staggered, and it worked really well in that match. Herediano was also very disorganized defensively. Those little variations that you can throw where it's not so static, it's not two players in a line, little bit of stagger, little bit of difference, mix it up sometimes, that's where you can take advantage of some of these defenses. And Pity and Barco are the two players to do that. It just takes time to play with one another. Pity's a very different player than Miguel was last year. Barco had to get used to playing with Miguel. Now he's adjusting to a different type of player.
Let's see, and just one more before we get to Stephen Glass. Let's see, Ricky Ricardo, kind of the similar question. Is this team best suited to have Barco and Pity essentially performing the same role and being ball dominant, or would it be better served with Joseph and Tito not needing the ball being served by Pity?
Pity's not exactly a traditional number 10, and I'm not sure where that narrative has come from. He scores as much as he creates. He's a special player that can do both. You don't want to feed him in that regard to spray the passes around. You want him to have the opportunity at the end of a play to deliver the killer pass or score the goal. And that's his choice. You want him to have those opportunities. These last two matches, and we've been talking about it every broadcast now, you're seeing the team feed him a lot more in those opportunities. We need to see him further up the field, receiving the ball deeper. Not so much back to goal, but in more dangerous spots. Against Monterey, where were a lot of those fouls? Right in the middle of the field. You weren't getting him on the ball in the dangerous zone. You were getting him on the ball in the middle. That needs to flip against Cincinnati and Philadelphia, and it should, because you should be able to control more of the play there.
By the way, how soon we forget. I went back and listened to the game today. The two fouls that Pitti drew in the attacking third, or just outside, were darn close to being goals. Mm-hmm. One he whistled over the crossbar, one their keeper had to make a big save on. So, we dwell a lot on scoreline and shots on goal and all of that. And I'm not downplaying that, but in reality, if you give Pitti an opportunity to go for goal from 30 yards out, he's going to go for it, and he's going to cause a problem. And he caused two problems in doing that on Wednesday night.
There has been a narrative that nobody plays 3-4-3 like this. That's completely false. Completely false. A lot of teams do this, and it's becoming more and more of a thing. It's going to work, but it does take time for it to work, especially with the personalities you have involved.
Great. And now let's get to our special guest, Layne United 2's manager, Stephen Glass. Why don't you come over here and get my seat? And
we don't have Tonight Show music. Like the Don Severance and Orchestra's not here. Hi, Stephen. How are you? Good to see you. Come on in.
Thank you.
Jimmy kept the seat warm for you.
Nice, thanks.
How nice is it going to be to play a game that counts finally?
It's what we've been looking forward to all pre-season. So the players are looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully some of the fans are as well, and we can attract some people to come and watch us. But it's just when you start pre-season, you've got your eye on the first game all the time. So the excitement level for us as a staff is great. So I'm hoping the players are the same, and watching them in training, it certainly feels like it.
What have you learned so far from the preseason? Some different matches against college teams, against Chattanooga Red Wolves of USL League One as well. Where do you feel like the squad is at this point?
I think we're in a good position, actually. Starting to understand different formations and things like that, so we're trying different things in pre-season, seeing where the players are best suited within particular formations, because a lot of it's going to be dependent on which first-team players we get to use on a given weekend. So players have to be adaptable to play in numerous positions. So seeing who can fit in where, if there's limitations on first-team players, this guy's got to be able to move into different spots. So as a management situation, that's something that's probably the challenge, that I've managed that correctly so that I've always got my eye on what's going to happen during the game.
I'm guessing, this is an assumption, that with the first team playing 6 matches over 18 days at the outset of your season, starting tomorrow against Hartford, there probably won't be a whole lot of first-teamers available for your squad.
It's hard to say. We're still waiting on confirmation of what is the first team going to look like for the weekend, for Wednesday, for the following weekend. So that's how kind of short notice that we work. There's two sides of it, though. I think I've heard you guys talking right there about not too much rotation almost so far, which means that some guys need minutes.
Right.
So the potential for us to get some might be greater than some people think.
Right.
But I'm sure that everything that gets done for us is with the benefit of the first team at the forefront of people's minds. So I wouldn't say there's no chance of us getting first team players.
So we're going to talk a lot about those first-team guys and the young guys, especially the academy guys. But how important to you are 2 veteran players like a Jack Metcalf, a Tyler Ruthven, guys who have played all around the world and kind of setting the tone for what you want?
They're great, actually, because there are going to be training days where we don't have a first-team player, and those guys are going to set the tone and let the younger players know what it takes to be a professional. They're very good pros. They're very good players. They've got a great attitude around the place, and when the first team players come in too, they don't feel like they're being cast aside. That's part of my job too, to make them feel, not to make them feel because they are, but to really value them like I do and let them know that. So I think that's hugely important, and the question's great because it lets me not go searching to remember to big up those 2, because they've been pre-season so far, they've been great. and I know they're going to be great in the games as well.
So your group's been together now for a month and a half, almost 2 months now. And we've talked about some veterans, but has anyone in particular, through training camp, through the competitive matches that you've had, is there a player or two that in particular has really, really stood out to you?
I'm not one for singling players out.
Okay.
I think when people come to see our games, you know what fans are like. They're going to take a shine to one or two, so I don't feel like I should be almost promoting guys. I think I'm going to be trying to push as many as I can, and then it becomes a Frank de Boer decision. Who do you think, or who are you telling me is ready for your first team? Then I'll have some input into that as well. But what I would say is the guys that have come through the academy, they've had a really good grounding already. So I was working with a 17s group, so I've seen the 19s. I know what Tony was doing with them the previous year, and Rodrigo Rios with the 19s right now. So I know the grounding they've had. I know they're ready. They're ready to kick on, and these senior players that they're with will help them do that. And the environment, the competitive environment, the games and the training will be great. So I think there'll be a number of young players will get opportunities this year. That's why I hope that people come to watch as well, that they potentially in 3-4 years they've seen someone play their first game for the USL team, and then they step out at the bends and they're playing for the first team, and then that's when people start, the real family of Atlanta United comes together. And I saw that kid play. I saw him play in the academy, maybe, you know what I mean? So it's that sort of thing.
So for people who are digging into the club and kind of new to how the second team works, tell us a little bit about how it works with you and Frank with players from the first team, but also you and Tony with players coming up from the academy. Yeah,
it's similar. I'm right in the middle of one up, and I won't even say one down with Tony, one right beside me almost. So
right.
It's my relationship with Tony is great because I was coaching his previous age group when I came into the club. So I was doing the 17s, always dealing with Tony every day. Now I see him every day, and there's less, probably less interaction, but we're always talking about players. We just had lunch with him before I came in here. So he's asking how the guys did in training, who's looking like playing, all that sort of stuff. So there's a huge interest. Then obviously with Frank, he's got his mind, he's been in Mexico, they were in LA for a couple of weeks, so more difficult to get time to sit and talk about players, but obviously with staff are easier to access, and I know what's happening with the team. I know what's happening with the team anyway, so it's I've already know who might come, that sort of thing. So I'm always ready, prepared for, right, I might get these 10 players, it might be one, it might be none. Right. What does my group look like based on all the eventualities? So the relationship's similar. I'm right in the middle of the two, and probably, I don't know if Frank would even consider himself looking down to our group. It's this group will help his first team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What are the things you want to see, tomorrow obviously being your first competitive game, but over maybe the first month of the season as you go through these first couple of matches? Are there specific areas where you're looking for growth, starting with training camp up to now where you are starting to play some competitive matches?
Yeah, I think I want to see an understanding of the roles. As much as we can, we'll try to mimic what the first team do. So again, that changes week on week based on personnel, based on if there's specific players coming to me that need to play a certain position. So that changes. So what I want to see is guys understanding the position in the team, understanding the basic concepts that will get them opportunities in the first team. So it's not hard and fast, we need to win this or do this. I want to win every game I play, even in training. And I'm trying to impart that into the players as well, so that it's not okay to get beat. If we're doing what we want to do, I think we'll win more games than we lose. So it's the learning curve of what it takes to be a professional is probably the biggest part of my job. The first team players that come down, they know where they want to get back to. I don't need to do too much with them. Create the right environment, make it enjoyable. I think a lot of them that come down will like the fact that they help young players. I did it a lot myself during the latter part of my career. You get an opportunity to help young players, and then later as you're almost finishing, that becomes the pride in your job too. Right. And just the pride in playing for the club as well. Doesn't matter if you're playing for the U12s in the academy, the first team. We don't want people coming to our place and beating us, outperforming us, working harder than us. So I don't want to see the team that's representing USL, the Atlanta United 2 team, I don't want to see them get outworked, outplayed, outfought at any point, and especially at home, especially at the start of the year.
Right. So there's this push-pull in the development circles about winning and development and how closely linked are they. Where do you fall on that? Because it's tough when you are working on getting players ready for the next level,
Yeah.
and that's the focus. But how important is winning to making that happen?
I'd say, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with learning through winning. Now, if we win every game out of sight and put no players in the first team, I've not done my job.
Right.
But if we take a hit now and again along the way, get beat now and again, and we push players up, then I think that becomes more acceptable. But game on game, we're trying to win the game.
Of course.
Like the first team, they're not saying is it Champions League or is it the league. You send players out, they want to win the game. Every professional's got that pride in them that says, I want to win today. When you're training and you're playing tennis, I want to win. It's not, I think that's what makes you a soccer player.
Right.
It's not okay to get beat. And I think you're going to see a team that represents us that is, it's not all right to get beat, but they're learning how to become professionals. They are pushing to get back in the first team. They're getting their fitness back in a group that's got the right environment. So there's a lot goes into the mix of the USL team. But it's great, and it means I get to work with good players, the staff get to work with good players, the young players get to learn from great professionals, so it can only be good.
You've talked about creating an enjoyable atmosphere
Yeah.
for the first teamers when they're down with you. I have to think part of that will be being able to play at Kennesaw State. We saw what a great atmosphere that was when Arellano came in last Thursday. But as the manager, I mean, are you excited now to be able to play in a park like that that's meant for soccer, where hopefully you are going to get a lot of fan support?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a huge plus for, not the programme, for the team, for the club, because I think it will foster more people coming to watch the twos. Hopefully that in turn, maybe there's younger people coming, never been to games, maybe can't make it to the bends, and then they start thinking, the first team's got to be up a notch from this, I want to go and see it. So that side of it is great. The fact the Champions League game was there as well was really fantastic, because sitting right behind me was the whole team. So they're watching it, and then we were fortunate enough that people at Kennesaw allowed us to play a closed door game there last week. So the guys have felt what it feels like to play there.
Right.
All right, there's no people there, but to watch us. But we know on Saturday night there will be. So I don't know how many, but it's our job to make those that come back.
I think the weather's supposed to be okay. I know it looked kind of iffy earlier in the week, but I think it's supposed to be okay, kind of low to mid-60s. Might be cloudy, but that's better than raining. So, I mean, that should be outstanding. And you have an opportunity now to play against a new club in Hartford, which I would imagine from a scouting standpoint, actually, maybe I'll start with this. How much scouting do you do on an opponent in USL?
We'll be doing a lot. Henry, who's working with me, is very, very good at seeing the other teams and seeing what happens. We've got access to the games pretty much instantly. So we're working ourselves, we're managing our time really well, where moving forward we're going to know, we'll analyse our game, we'll analyse the next opponent, and that'll get deeper as we go on as other clubs have played more games.
Does it make it challenging, though, to scout Hartford, who didn't play against anyone last year?
Yeah, 100%. We can look at their players, we can see what we think they're going to play based on where they used to play, all that sort of thing. So it'd be very easy to say we can't see any games, but there's ways and means of finding out who they played against, what were they like. It's been difficult, but we've managed to do a little bit of homework. But I think the biggest thing for me is this weekend is going to be about what we do. How hard do we work? Do we look after the ball? All the things you're talking about there. How well do you look after the ball when you're in the opponent's half? When you get opportunities to go through the other team, do you do it? Or do you come and play safe? So all things that I'm trying to put into this, especially the younger guys. When you get an opportunity, can you show the manager, Frank, that you should be in his first team? So the homework side of things, we're very much on it and moving forward every week. We know the champions are coming next week to play us too already, so we got that in our mind.
Thanks so much for coming down. We
no
appreciate
problem at
it.
all.
We're looking forward to tomorrow night.
Thank you very much.
Can't make it out to Kennesaw, you can watch on ESPN Plus. Myself, John Nelson will be on the call. So 7:30 kick. Get your ESPN Plus subscription and get ready to watch the twos all season long.
Yeah, Stephen, thanks so much.
Thanks, mate.
Good to see you. Stephen Glass, the manager of
Thanks.
ATL UTD2 in his first year.
Thank you.
And we'll bring Jimmy back in here now for the remainder of Stoppage time as we look ahead to the MLS match on Sunday against Cincinnati. And keep typing in your questions. We'll get to them here at the end of the show. I'm excited to watch the twos play this year. They were fun to watch last year But I think we know that the aesthetics of watching them in a baseball stadium can be, it is what it is. And it's going to be fun to watch them at Kennesaw this year in that atmosphere. I think we're going to see a lot of different faces with the club this year, which will be exciting as well. And I hope they get the fan support, because these are guys, and you know, Jason and John, you're with them every week too. These guys are working their tails off to get into MLS. And guys who are working hard want that payoff, and that payoff sometimes comes with how they play in actual games.
That's across the board. I mean, the young guys from the academy who are playing in USL for the first time, and you had 10 of them last year, they want to get that pro contract. The ones who sign a USL deal like Alessandro Castro, Jackson Conway, they want to sign an MLS deal. The players who are on MLS contracts, homegrowns like Patrick Okonkwo, Lagos Kunga, they want to get back into the mix with the first team. They're on a first team deal. They want to get back there. And don't discount guys like Jack Metcalf and Tyler Ruthven, veterans who Tyler's played in MLS. Jack's been a professional everywhere. They want to get that opportunity, and they want to show that, hey, if things happen with the first team, I'm right here. Everybody is competing as a unit to win matches in USL, but also to showcase themselves very well.
And it's not that far of a gap, really, Jimmy, between USL and MLS. I mean, look at all the USL holdovers that Cincinnati kept on to this MLS club. Ledesma's still with them.
Corbin Bones started.
Corbin Bones started in Seattle. Al-Badawi is still with them. I mean, they have a lot of guys that they kept on from USL. We saw USL keeper Mitch Hildebrand make that magical US Open Cup run 2 years and then come to Atlanta United and contribute.
I mean, with the twos, I mean, like last year, how Miles Robinson started with the twos. Now he's been our best player. It seems like so far this season.
Most consistent.
I mean, it's incredible what the second team can do for a young player's development.
You saw it last year with Miles playing games early. When he had to step into the first team, he played well. You saw it with Andrew Carlton, same thing. He grew up a lot as the year went on, having to be the focal point of the team and deal with the things that Pity Martinez is dealing with right now, where you kind of have to put the team on your back through hard times. Andrew did that in USL play last year, and he grew from it. George Bello was a player who would not have been able to step in and score an MLS goal without minutes in USL last year. Bello will be with the twos tomorrow and playing as he comes back from injury.
That's a Bumba de Pereira there. I mean, where's our siren? That is news. Did you know that? Okay, is Stephen Glass is holding out on us. Okay. Well, there you go. That's, I think, our first breaking news story ever on Stoppage Time.
I need like a siren or something.
Yeah, jeez. All right. Well, that's one more reason to go to Kennesaw then to see George Bell tomorrow night.
Yeah,
you're holding out on me.
It was on Twitter. I mean,
I didn't see it.
I read it.
Everybody, keep on sending your Facebook questions in. We'll get to the Country Financial Q&A very soon. And just wanted to say again, thanks to our sponsor of Stoppage Time, Aaron's, where you'll find the perfect choice for your budget and style with top brand names in furniture, electronics, and appliances. Get started at Aaron's.com or visit one of the 47 stores across the Atlanta area.
See, Aaron's, you sponsor our show, and we give you a breaking story, show one. So we're going to try to keep that going through the next year.
But, guys, this matchup this weekend against FC Cincinnati, it's going to be quite interesting.
Yeah.
There's going to be a great environment with being like the first match of the Bends since the championship MLS Cup. What do you
believe that?
What do you guys see starting lineup wise, like with squad rotation? Well, we know LGP is most likely going to play because he won't be involved with Monterey.
Yeah.
So what do you got? What can you tell maybe our listeners or people who are watching? What do you think? What would you think going into this match? How many?
Do we have one of those lottery machines with the numbers to pull out? Because
here's a coin.
Yeah, this is going to be very difficult.
What is it? Sorry.
I don't know. You
Tails.
lost it in the chair.
Yeah.
It's down there somewhere.
It's going to be that kind of situation, I think. We talked about this on SDH today. And this is not an easy thing to say, and I'm sure the players and technical staff would not agree with me. But if you look at what you have ahead of you realistically now, do you realistically believe you can make up a 3-goal aggregate deficit to Monterey? Which probably means you will You cannot concede anything. If you concede anything, you'd have to score 5 goals. That is a very tough ask. You look at Cincinnati, a club that did not defend very well in Seattle. You're trying to forge these connections right now. You're getting close, but you're trying to build that chemistry, forge the connections, get that interplay that you want to see between Pity Martinez and Ezequiel Barco and Joseph Martinez. I'm looking at Cincinnati thinking, I have a better chance of doing that against them than I do against Monterey. And don't discount the fact that you played Wednesday this week and not Thursday in CONCACAF. So you do get the extra day of rest there. I think it would be a very tough ask for Michael Parkhurst to go out and play 90. He's put in a ton of work. I think it would be a difficult ask for Eric Remedi and Darlington Nagbe. They've put in a ton of work over the last week. So there I think you might see maybe a little bit of rotation. But I wouldn't be shocked if the team sheet came out on Sunday and we saw Pity Martinez and Joseph Martinez and Ezequiel Barco in the 11. I would not be surprised.
The counter to that is I think you are going to have more tired legs than just those couple on Sunday. And even though, from our perspective, looking at it from outside, Monterey Wednesday doesn't look likely. It's a very difficult ask. However, we did just watch what Ajax did.
Yes.
Going to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
They went on the road
Yeah.
and turned that around.
Manchester
We've seen
United.
it happen. Manchester United. Sorry, Jimmy's going to throw things at me. Manchester United, PSG. We've seen PSG fall that before as well against Barcelona a few years ago. It can happen. And while you're alive in a competition, you have to throw everything at it. I think the way the schedule falls with Cincinnati and Philadelphia around the Monterey game and then 2 weeks off, with a few guys going on international duty, but not everybody, I think you're basically asking the question to every first-choice player, are you ready to go? How much can you give me? Do you have 60? Do you have 75? Do you have 45? Do you have 90 minutes in you? And whoever's ready is going to play Sunday, and I think whoever's ready is going to play Wednesday, and I think whoever's ready is going to play the following Sunday.
I think we know pretty much for sure that Jeff Lorenowitz and Tito Villalba are going to start on Sunday. I think
would
we can take
assume-
context clues. I'd be very surprised if that did not happen.
My guess is right now, I think Leandro Gonzalez-Perez for sure on Sunday because he can't play Wednesday.
Right.
I think Mikey Ambrose on Sunday because you don't have a lot of options on the right,
But maybe you do now, because did you see who trained today?
but he's not playing on Sunday.
Oh, what?
You don't
I'm
keep
not
up with
getting
Twitter,
these
do you?
messages. I'm not getting these messages.
He's training, but I think it's just
Yeah.
Right.
Jay got built up that
Oh, I
fast.
feel like a total fool for the second time here in 5 minutes. So he's not going to play on
not
Sunday?
gonna play on
Oh,
Sunday.
then it's Miles Robinson.
Well, it's good he's back
Or
in training
Mikey
at
Ambrose.
least.
Mikey Ambrose. So.
I saw
He's-
Julian-
Which is fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. But it will give you another option when you get Franco Escobar
Definitely
back, which
that.
is important.
And there is a balance, too, with the twos playing Saturday. Because let's take a player like Gordon Wild, who's been in the 18, hasn't played. You'd love to get him minutes. I thought Steven was dead on in that. You've had a pretty narrow squad right now in 4 games. You have a lot of guys who've been in 18s and haven't played much. So are they going to play more on Sunday with the first team? Could they play more minutes on Saturday to prepare for Wednesday? So I think that's going to be a very interesting juggling act.
Kevin Kratz would be another guy that I think could easily step in
You'd love
on
to get
Sunday.
him minutes,
but
yeah.
you've got to get him minutes somehow.
Yeah.
I think Sunday could be a day where you could get away with doing that if you want to give Nagbe a rest. I mean, I think you have options where you could go mixed and still
I'm
be
expecting.
just fine.
Yeah.
But I think it is really, really important that you forge this connection soon with Pity and Joseph and Barco, because that has been a little bit of a struggle. And even if it's one of those things where you have the expectation that it's going to be 60 minutes only, I think you've got a real opportunity to do it here against Cincinnati. I'll be curious to see if Frank DeBoer agrees with me.
Well, and the part that we won't know is if those guys aren't in the lineup, could they give you that 60 minutes? And that's the
Another good
question
question.
about like a Pity Martinez. Can he give you 60 right now? Or would you rather take the 60 to 90 minutes he can give you if he can't do it Sunday and Wednesday? Which one do you want? And right now you have to take Wednesday.
Yeah.
Even though it's an uphill climb, even though it's very unlikely.
But it's more time to recover.
It's more time to recover, and you can come out of Wednesday with success even if you don't advance. If you have 3 wins this week, if you win Sunday, if you win on the field Wednesday, and you win next Sunday, you're in great shape, whether you advance in CONCACAF or not.
Listen, Monterey has played 8 matches all time against MLS and has lost only 1 of them. So, and I think it was a similar deal against Seattle in 09.
Yeah, it's the other way around.
Yeah. But, I mean, you get a 2-1 win on Wednesday. That's a great result. You're not going through, but you feel really good about the way that series comes to a close. And then that kind of propels you into Philadelphia. It's just really tricky. And I think the Julian Gressel injury has made this
Awful
even
timing.
trickier.
Yeah.
I mean, you could not pick for a worse time for Julian Gressel to have this happen. And it goes back to what I said at the very beginning. You know, for those of you out there that really want to pick everything apart right now, then you've got to remember what has been thrown at this club from an adversity and an injury standpoint. 2 guys out at the same position. I mean, you're a deep club, but when you lose 2 right wing backs, that's a huge, huge problem.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost as though like Julian was the worst possible guy to get hurt.
Yeah.
Between DC and Monterey, could not have picked a worse guy.
All right, now let's finish the show, the last 10 minutes of the show, with the Country Financial Q&A. Prepare for your financial future one simple step at a time at takesimplesteps.com. Guys, I've got some questions here on Facebook. One person's asked, in your opinion, who slots in for LGP versus Monterey? Would it be Lorenowitz?
I think that's the easy one right now. You'd love to get Franco Escobar back for that. It's probably a big ask, but if he's training and he can get some fitness, maybe. I would say the safe bet is Lorenowitz, Parkhurst, Robinson.
We're
keep the same shape.
We're assuming Parkhurst would not start on Sunday. Yeah. So, yeah. Florentine Pogba's in this mix, too. I mean, he at some point, he's going to have to play with the first team.
Well, he's been training with the second team, and maybe we see him Saturday, and then we have a better sense. I think something to keep in mind, players who play on Saturday could factor in on Wednesday, for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks to Andy Richards for that question. We've got a question here from John White. He said, with Franco Escobar returning to training today, do you think that he'll return by the end of the stretch of the 6 matches in 18 days? So what did you think, Philadelphia next weekend?
That was the one that we'd kind of zeroed in from the beginning, was if you get him back, the Philly game might be the one, but it was more likely after the 2-week break.
Okay.
If he's a little ahead of schedule, Philly would be great. It'd be even better if he's really ahead of schedule for Wednesday, but it's not very likely.
Gressel's status also comes into play with that a little bit,
and he
too.
could factor in Wednesday, is what was said today at training.
Just a comment here. Jim Porter saying, hey guys, love the show. Thanks for keeping us 5 stripes in the know. So
we try.
You guys are more in the know than me today, apparently.
You have to set up your Twitter with the notifications on the right people.
That drains my phone battery.
Let's see. Just rifling through these questions. There's a lot of comments, a lot of chatter here with everybody.
Well, and
speaking
speaking of chatter, as you find a question, we talked about this on SDH today. If you have a ticket on Sunday, look, I know there's a lot of disappointment about what's happened over the last week and questions, and I love the passion. That's great, but the Atlanta United players would tell you what it felt like going into Monterey on Wednesday, and it wasn't totally sold out there, but it was a really engaged, passionate crowd. Atlanta United got to feel what every MLS club feels when they walk into Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and it has an impact. And I think it's really important that on Sunday it is positive, it is loud for 90 minutes no matter how this match starts. I'd advise you to get to your seats early. You're going to have a big role in getting this kind of turned around for your club. And your club has given you a lot of very happy memories over the last couple months. I think now it's time a little bit for you to repay them. Not that you don't already. You're rowdy and proud already for 90 minutes, but I think especially so on Sunday. This is one of the most critical home matches. Please don't make fun of me. I really believe this. I mean, this club has never lost 3 in a row, ever. and you don't want this thing to get tilted and spin out of control quickly. This is a very, very important time to have a home match. And this club needs a big group hug from 70,000 of you on Sunday. And I hope you'll give it to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like there's been so many road matches, you know.
Yeah.
We only played one in Kennesaw, so it's crazy to think about how the start of the year has been that. Andy Richards says he's talking about more on defense. Is our formation on defense more like a 5-4-1?
Yeah, it can look a couple different ways defensively. So your wingbacks drop in to create a line of 5. Sometimes, depending on the build-up from the opposition, Pitti, Barco, if we're going to say they're the inside forwards, sit behind Joseph, and it looks almost like a box in the midfield. Other times, it's a line of 4. It really depends on where it is in possession. I've seen a lot of talk this week about pressing, and the team needs to press, and they should be pressing more. I think it's honestly the wrong terminology, because when we're talking press, we're talking what the Red Bulls do. They don't want possession. They're playing without the ball. The press is how they hurt you. Atlanta wants to hurt you by having the ball and keeping it away from you and creating chances. When you lose possession, and this is what you build to, and this is why having a short preseason and having competitive matches so quickly is such a challenge. What you build to is when you have that possession and you get all these numbers forward, as we talked about, when you lose possession, you immediately press, if you want to call it that. It's a counter press. It's what we've seen Borussia Dortmund do. It's what Jurgen Klopp's teams do. It's you lose possession, you want to regain it as quickly as possible. If you don't, within about 5 seconds or so, you retreat into that 5-4-1. But you don't just immediately fall back. Mm-hmm. Right now, when the team loses possession, it's a little disjointed. And that's the part that is something that comes with time, but it's hard to have that look so sharp so quickly.
Let's see, this will be our last question from Andy Brand. I know a lot of 17s have been kind of asking this. With Mikey being on the right side, they tried early to get him the ball, like around 15, after 15 minutes, but no dice, he said. We had 2/3 of the field to play offensively. He says that can't happen.
Mikey had more crosses than anybody not named P.T. Martinez. I mean, that's a stat. It's true. It happened. We watched it. There's been an obsession about Mikey Ambrose hurting the team. I don't think there was anything about it that hurt the team. The team did try to play through the left, as much because P.T. Martinez was trying to find space, probably trying to get away from Carlos Rodriguez. You know, trying not to get kicked on a regular basis.
Exactly.
So he was drifting out wide against DC. DC clogged the middle as Russell Canals and Junior Moreno sat deeper. Why stay where there's a bunch of defenders, flare out wide? So who are you going to play through, P.T. Martinez or Mikey Ambrose? You're going to try to play to P.T. Martinez. Mm-hmm. But to say that Mikey being there and you're playing through 2/3 of the field, I don't think that's because of Mikey. I think that's because you have the South American Player of the Year that you want to get going and was showing effectiveness and earning free kicks. You want him to change that game. Mikey did what he needed to do when he got forward. Think back to late. I think it was Pitti who had a big switch to the right side. Mikey with a good first touch down and earned a corner in that great run. Mm-hmm. Mikey's done the job out of position because he's had to. That's what happens in these games sometimes. You don't get to always play where you want. Ask John Gallagher about that last year with the twos. Yep. He's become a right back, right wing back because an opportunity presented itself. That's the professional game.
All right, well, that's the show, everybody. Thanks for joining us for Stoppage Time. A few housekeeping notes. Let's see, tomorrow we got ATL UTD 2.
Yep.
Up in Kennesaw.
7:30 ESPN Plus or in Kennesaw Fifth Third Bank. You can get your tickets at atlutd.com.
And on Sunday, what's the radio information for
everybody?
We'll
be on Star 94.1, 4:30 with the Five Stripes Countdown, 5 o'clock the kickoff, and we'll do a full 1 hour full-time report. We're going to be on Star the next 3 matches. So Sunday against Cincinnati, Wednesday against Monterey, next Saturday against Philadelphia. Sunday. I always get that confused. That's the 3rd time for me now. So the next 3 matches on Star 94.1, then we're on 92.9 the game until Falcon season.
And make sure you check out 92.9thegame.com. There's a bunch of great stuff. We got articles from Mike Conti. Jason Longshore just had a piece today, starting 11. A lot of audio interviews. I know Carlos Bocanegra was on the morning show, so make sure you tune into that and the Off the Woodwork podcast. And one more thing, our 92 on the Game scars are currently on sale. On-site will be in the Gulch on Sunday, and it's available online, so make sure you check that out. And thanks, everybody, for joining us for Stoppage Time again, and we will talk to y'all next week.
Kind of jittery, kind of shaking during the day. Last night, got some good rest. And once I took the first touch of the ball, I was like, all right, this is what I do. This is what I need to do. So I calmed down after that. I just tried to play the best I can play.
Even though starting players at such a young age is a trend in the MLS, did you feel like there was a lot of pressure on you because you're 16?
I wouldn't say pressure. My teammates just all talked to me, made me feel calm. They told me to just be calm. So all those guys just helping me out and having my back just made me feel better and not have any pressure on me.
How do you think you did?
Huh?
How do you think you did?
I think I did pretty good for first MLS start. Some few things I could tweak here and there, but it's only beginning here, and I just need to learn from the mistakes and just keep going, improving myself.
What are those little things?
I would say maybe like 1v1 defending. Sometimes I would like step too early, but it's just a learning curve, and I'll just move on from there and keep working.
George, what does it
Oh,
mean for Tata to show that kind of confidence?
Yeah, it means a lot, man, because not everyone gets to make their MLS debut at the age of 16, so it's just really a blessing, and I just thank him for the opportunity as well.
Did he give you a special team talk before the game just for you?
No, he said enjoy it. I don't have any responsibilities. Just go out there and have fun. Don't be nervous. Just stay calm. Enjoy it.
George, you defended well, actually. I know you're being a little bit critical, but you defended really well, especially against a player like Severino. What did you know about him before tonight?
We watched film on him beforehand, the days leading to it, and he's a very technical player. He's quick. So the coaches told me just to contain him, try not to stab, and when the right moment to press comes, to press him. So just try to do that as well as I could.
How many family members do you have here today?
Like 7 or 8. So, yeah, I had a lot. So there's great support out there.
Is that where they open the upper deck to get all your family?
Maybe.
I've talked to you before. We've talked about kind of how these veteran players have pushed you, Miguel, Joseph. How did those guys help you specifically today?
Yeah, they just, again, told me to be calm, gave me encouragement, never put me down. If I were to make a mistake, they'll just keep going. So, and when I would do good things, they'll compliment me. So it just made everything feel calm and not stressful.
Julian said you asked a lot of questions in the locker room before the game.
Yeah.
Did you write them down as you thought of them, or these were just kind of things you had inventoried and were ready to machine gun at people?
Yeah, they were just out of my head because, he plays the right wing back as well, and I'm playing left wing back. So I was asking for tips and tricks and stuff like that for him to give me before the game. So
what was the best piece of advice he gave you?
Just to have fun. Don't be stressed out. Be calm. That's the best piece of advice, to be honest, because if you're stressed out and you're just nervous, you will not play good. So I just try to be calm as I could.
Anything else for George? Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, George.